Let's hope so. Of course, they always start it when I'm looking down.
I don't know. I swear, I stepped back from my desk. It looks
Yes.
like I got the webcam right, literally in front of me, but I look down and I'm off the monitor. It's like off a little bit. See, like it is not in front of me if I stand here. Yet I'm in the middle of this frame. If I stand right in front of the camera.
Craig has a problem being off-centered now and then. Ding, what do we got? We have a notification that says Technorama is now live on YouTube. Good for us. We should go
There you go.
watch that. I hear they're pretty good.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you later.
Let's do
Look,
a switch
live viewer
personas.
comments show up on StreamYard.
Share, and that takes care of that.
All right. So I'm going to try to maintain the banners and stuff.
Yes, that would be much helpful.
Yeah, I told you I organized them where they were in order of the show, so it was
Yep.
easier to just go beep, beep, beep.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yep. So,
Shift B
yeah,
is the
we were walking around the, neighborhood yesterday, and, a lot of people have RVs parked out in front
Mhm.
because it's an older community, demographic of Phoenix, and it's also the time of year when people aren't really going on the road RVing. They come to Phoenix in the winter, so a lot of these may even be snowbirds. So we'd walk around and go, "Too big, too small, wouldn't be able to drive that anywhere," just kinda getting the feel, and,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know if Don was 100% sold on the idea. So it's like, well, if you wanted to just take off for a couple of weeks, you could, hop in this thing and drive there and sleep on the way, and if you really wanted, you could hop into a motel bed or, get a nice hot shower, breakfast, whatever, or yeah, you if we went to stay with somebody, say, go visit them in like, like you and Kim,
Mhm.
uh, we could sleep in the RV or we could find a hotel. Not saying you specifically, because 'cause you'd probably say, "No, no, you got the guest bedroom."
I got 3
But that
bedrooms.
kind of scenario where
Yeah, I
somebody
understand.
doesn't have a guest bedroom,
Mhm. Well, you're
you know,
not
s
imposing.
right, not imposing, you just take over their driveway with this
Yeah,
40-footer.
yeah. You're not supposed to park on the road, Chuck. You can't
We're
you
not we're not doing the big pickup truck with a fifth wheel, that's completely out because, frankly, I don't wanna drive it, and Donna can't drive that. So,
Mhm.
I can just imagine getting stuck
So
in
what
a
do you
dead-end
want
road
something
going,
bigger than, like, one of those campers that has, like, a van f looking front?
well, no, that's pretty much what we're looking for is the
Okay.
van-looking front. Maybe
Oh.
it's got a sleepover above the cabin or
Mhm.
sleep in the back.
Like a tiny
Um,
house.
yeah, maybe a little bigger than a tiny house.
Right.
So, just
There's
gotta
a there
I
there's
think we
a
just gotta go
the thing about those campers, you can spend what you want and you can get what you want. I mean,
we would likely rent at least once before we bought anything, just
yeah,
to make
sure.
sure that we know
No,
how
I
to.
was just saying in general, you can spend as much as you want, you
Hello,
know.
Mike and John. Mike and John are on.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
not cheap. They cannot
Shall
be
we start the
served.
show?
Sure. Again, I don't think I read the articles 100%, but
Well,
we can
you're the
go
one who
for it.
picked them out. What are you doing picking them out if you didn't read
I
them?
skim over it. I just didn't make any notes.
Okay, well,
Oh,
we'll alternate because you have to take the second one because I don't have an account
that's
on
all right.
Wired and can't read more than the first paragraph
Do
on that.
what?
The one about the astrophysicists, I can't read it.
Why not?
I get the first paragraph that says, "If you wanna read the rest, sign up for a Wired.com
Oh,
account."
does it? Oh,
Yes. You wanna
I got
strike
the
it?
whole article. Sure, I got a whole article.
I get this, like, lower third that says, "You wanna read the." Yeah, okay, then you're in
Yeah,
charge now.
well, you know what? I've got a Raspberry Pi running Pi-hole. Are you familiar with Pi-hole?
That doesn't sound like a good term any way you slice it.
No,
Shut your pie hole.
it's the open source project that you point your router's DNS to. This
Yes.
as the DNS server. All your requests go through it, and it has um, a restricted list and everything for advertisers. So all the websites, the advertising gets stripped out because it doesn't resolve the DNS for
It's
them.
not an ad, though. It's a
Right?
subscription thing.
No,
And I've already
huh?
got uBlock Origin on my browser, so I should be able to g I'm already getting past ads.
Well, right,
right?
but not on your Apple TV or Roku.
Okay.
This is network wide. It does the whole in the house.
You're not you can't block ads from an Apple TV or a Roku.
Yes, you can.
Really?
So you set up Pi-hole, right? And you
Okay.
update the whitelist and the blacklist. You go to your router and say, use this server for your DNS, and it will look at the list and go, oh, that's a no. Oh, yes, a yes. And it goes out and gets the
Are you
referral, the DNS
statically configuring the IP on all these devices, or are you putting this into the DHCP config?
on the the Raspberry
If I
Pi.
when I go up to my Apple TV, I say, "Join, Tomasi Public," and
Right.
that's the end of it.
Well, on your router, instead of saying, here's my DNS servers, which is Google or wherever you're using, you say it's 10.1.3.6 or whatever your
Okay.
IP number is local. And then, so all your machines, everything is going to ask that Raspberry Pi, what's this DNS name? Well, the advertising ones, it won't resolve. It just, because it's got a list. But anything else, it'll go and get the correct names for you and do it, return the IP number. So you get all your
Hmm.
content, you get all your web pages, but it blocks the advertisers networks.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it all
I don't
all
have
you
a
gotta do is through.
Roku.
You got another Roku. You got a Raspberry Pi, right?
I do have a Raspberry Pi.
It's easy to install. You just install the
Right.
Pi,
You
the
said
OS, and
for
then
like Roku or Apple TV, and I don't watch Apple TV all that much,
no,
and I don't have a
I was
Roku.
just throwing that Roku. As a matter of fact, you can see all the. I got to show you this.
Will
Maybe
it block
after
my Hulu commercials?
mostly.
Mostly. You're gonna have to check that one for
Well,
me.
here we were watching a show. We were watching a movie. Um, what app was it on? Oh, it was on Crackle, and it came up. It said advertisement in 3, 2, and it cuts to an ad. But the problem was it said ad 1 of 8. Two of them showed, and then it couldn't resolve the rest, and it just went back to the show.
Okay. So it may have shortened things up.
Yes, considerably.
Okay.
And you can disable it if something is blocked that shouldn't be, or you can add to the whitelist.
I'll poke around with it on my Apple TV in the studio first before I put it out
All right. I'm
anywhere
trying
else.
not to use the word whitelist and blacklist
I
because,
know. I
uh,
know. I
but
know.
at the moment that's what it says. I don't know.
I know.
Restricted list, granted list. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, they really need to rework those terms. Anyway, we should start doing our podcast. Here we go.
Oh, John
Recording
Miller Jr.
in
soul.
5, 4, 3, 2. Technorama episode 661. It's not what you think. Hey, welcome to Technorama. This is the show that takes a lighthearted look at tech, science, sci-fi, and all things geek. If this is your first time joining us, thank you very much. If you are a returning guest, welcome back. We appreciate you giving us your time. My name is Chuck Tomasi from sunny Phoenix, Arizona, and joining me as always is Craig Stepp. How are you, Craig?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Trying to dig out from the blizzard of 2022.
You guys don't know what snow is.
Well,
Oh, we have an inch of snow. Now, I will
right.
grant that you don't have the snow removal equipment of the northern states. So,
No.
yes,
And
it can be crippling.
as a matter of fact, we have a second home, and in that area, they were saying we were not be able to get to the secondary roads. Not that they necessarily didn't have the equipment. They don't have the staff, COVID and everything. They don't have staff to go out and clear all the roads. So
Oh,
they were telling
compound
everybody,
problem. How much snow did
yeah.
you get in Rock Hill?
In my house, it was really more ice than anything, more ice and sleet that we got. So it snowed a little bit during the day, but I don't think that was really contributing. But I think I could see on my webcam, it looked like we had about maybe 8 to 10 inches in some places.
See, ice
You
and
know,
snow will take down power lines, though, too. I mean, you
yeah,
gotta watch the ice and sleet. Snow, you can generally get away with unless it's the wet, heavy stuff. But
yeah, no. And here in my home, most of the power lines, except for outside of my neighborhood, are underground. So our exposure's a little bit less, but there's still,
Mm, mhm.
power lines outside. So anyway, but no, we're fine. We're good so far.
Good, good. All right, we have some feedback. Let's get started with that.
Okie dokie.
Letters, oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day. Mailman, mailman, mail today. Reach right in and pull one out. Those letters, I love those letters. Let's find out what you got to say.
Oh boy,
Mailman, mail today.
what was that?
That was Technoramas on YouTube,
Oh,
waving things in front of the camera people at home
oh,
can't see.
I was like, what
We
is he
have
waving
an
at?
email. We got a last minute email from listener John, and he says, "Greetings, Chuck Tomasi, brother of Rolo." Well, not really, brother of Rico, but
I was gonna say,
and Craig from the House of Step.
yes, that's right.
I hope this communique finds you both well. We are surviving snowpocalypse of 2022 in the southernmost state of Carolina.
See,
Our
him
town
too.
has shut down due to several hundred ice cubes on the road. Ice cubes.
Somebody
It was,
dumped a bowl of ice cubes on
it was hailing the size of dominoes.
the ground. Right.
I have called for a local assistance, but suspect the St. Bernard with the first aid kit with warming spirits will not arrive by the time you read this. One bit of good news, I was able to negotiate a wonderful deal with the local hamburger establishment.
Mm.
I gladly pay on Tuesday. I ordered 2 hamburgers at double their advertised price. Well, that sounds like a bad deal, but I was able to
Yeah.
convince the restaurant to give me a 50% discount, getting them back to normally advertised price. What do you think? I think that sounded like a bait and switch, or what do they call that? A pump and dump?
Pump and dump. I'm sure their stock is reflecting that too.
Take care, be well, and positive vibes to all of you and your respective clans. Signed, John. Thank you very much. Oh, hey, put away the pre-show banner, please.
Oh yeah. See, I'm trying
Amy
to get
said she
used
got
to
a few
that.
few inches of snow in Omaha, Nebraska. You
Where
might be
is
able
the
to
banner?
there. Thunder brand. You got to put those away.
Oh, brand. I got it.
Yeah, brand is where those lower third, the homemade ones are.
No, there you go.
There. Ta-da!
That's
Sponsored by
shift.
cinnamon
That's shift
applesauce.
B. That's shift B. Okay, gotcha.
Shift beat,
Hey,
and then
Amy.
yes.
I'm sure they get a lot of snow. Do you get a lot of snow over there, Amy? I'm curious. I assume you
It's
would.
cold a lot, and it's in the dead center of the country.
Hmm.
So I suspect. All right, we also have a question of the week. Which TV show started out promising but turned out to be garbage? Oh, good thing we didn't see Saturday Night Karaoke.
What? What was that for?
It's a TV show.
Oh. Oh, yeah, right. Let's see. Let me think of one. Too many come to
Okay.
mind. No.
I'm gonna yeah. Started out promising. I'm bringing up our answers from our Facebook page. I
Well, yeah.
neglected to socialize it yesterday. I
I forgot to
apologize for
put a
that.
link in the show notes, so let's go pull it up.
Yeah, I did too. So we have John Miller Jr. says, I can think of 2, Elf and Cavemen. How do you create a TV show based on the cavemen from the Geico commercials?
Well,
Um,
they tried.
Lone Guy's Night says Wheel of Time. And yes, Sweet Steve agrees
Oh,
with
you know
that.
what? I haven't watched that. I guess it's not worth it.
Sounds like, well, or it starts out promising and then just
Hmm.
give up. Watch like the first one.
The first one.
Yeah, Steve said, yeah, he was expecting Wheel of Time to be something. I like that. I was expecting it to be something.
Yeah.
Also, Beyond the Walking Dead, but that one sucked big time as well. Think I managed 1 episode, but the Book of Boba Fett, the disappointment, it is a fact.
Oh, come on. I'm actually enjoying it. The last episode was there were some elements strange with it, but the funny thing is, the last episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who did Spy Kids and all those goofy films. That's
Yeah.
the director. I was like, okay, so there were some weird choices in the show of Boba Fett. So I'm hoping that's not the way it is through the whole thing. But I didn't hate it. I didn't really. I didn't really. I was like, okay.
Mike said he got some snow too, 3 to 6 ish inches. And
by the way,
cold. Man, cold, cold, cold in the northern states.
yeah, Gary Lindros said Lost.
Oh, amen, brother.
I think
Heroes.
I think the problem with Lost is they lost their way and they didn't
They
know
just
how
lost
to.
their way.
Yeah, they didn't
Wasn't
know
that
how to
also
wrap it
blame
up.
you can also blame the writer's strike on that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't think they had a plan when it got so popular. They didn't have a in game plan
No,
to
that's the
wrap up the
secret
show.
to a lot of successful literature and movies is you really need to have the end in mind when you're
Yeah,
going to end and what that looks like.
you can only
Uh,
make up so many things as you go through. You
yeah,
know,
J.K. Rowling had the final scene or the final plot point of Harry Potter in mind before she even started writing the first book. It's like
yeah.
she knew where she wanted to take that story, and it was done at the end of, let's crush all the Horcruxes. Oh, wait, there's a special one out there. So, not
Right.
spoiling it for anybody in case you missed it.
Oh, the one that time forgot. Yeah.
The land that time forgot?
No, the Horcrux that the time forgot.
Oh, okay.
So,
Let's close up the feedback. We'll give you another question of the week at the end of the show.
wait, what was your show? Hold on.
Yes. Lost, Heroes. There's a
Heroes
whole
was
bunch
at the
of them.
top of my list because I was so into that show.
Oh, it
And
killed it the first and second season. It's like,
yeah, I was
"What
like, oh, this is
is
really
this?"
good. And it was
Yeah.
another show. I don't think they had a direction beyond that. And they kind of
And
fell short.
Siler, he'd strike the fear in you. He's like, "What? This guy's insane. He's cutting people's heads open and
Yeah,
messing with their brains."
it had so many See, the other thing about Heroes is I liked, and I wish I'm sure at some point they'd have to kind of explain how it happens, but I liked how people were figuring out that they had powers and they were confused by it and trying to figure, not like, here comes Superman. Oh, he's had powers for years. He knows how to do it. They were trying to
Oh,
figure
so
it
you
out.
like the Spider-Man origin story where it's like, "What? Where
Yeah.
where he jumps off the roof without a
Tobey
clue."
Maguire. Yes, I love that when he was like, "Oh," psst, and he just shot a web out in the middle of nowhere, trying to figure out how it works. And yeah, I think it was great.
Amy's enjoying the Book of Boba Fett as well.
Yes,
Okay,
I
let's
really
do
did
some
like it.
history.
Hey,
We're gonna
there was one.
Yes?
I don't want to, since the episode just came out, I don't want to spoil it, but there was one scene that absolutely killed in that show. Maybe I'll talk about it next week, but that really made up for the kind of not goofy, but it was like kind of weird chase scene later on. But there was a really cool. I know Amy knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'll let it go. All right. I'm not gonna want to give it away. The episode
I
just came
know.
out.
Craig's not the best at teasers without spoilers.
And then they blew up the Death Star again.
Let's do the history. On this day in history for January 19th, 2022, this is, of course, the 19th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. Easy to figure out in January. There are 346 days remaining in the year. It was on this date in 1883. 1883, I love that show. The first electric lighting system employed overhead wires built by Thomas Edison began service in Roselle, New Jersey. And I'm guessing it was DC current if it was Edison's invention.
Yeah, there was a big thing about that. And I'm gonna say Jorges Claude patented the neon discharge tube for the use in advertising on this date in 1915.
And Las Vegas was never the same.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
January 19th, 1937, Howard Hughes set a new air record for flying from Los Angeles to New York City in only 7 hours, 28 minutes, and 25 seconds. That was 1937, people. That
Yeah.
was 85 years ago. Pretty amazing if you think about it.
Now, speaking of amazing, almost 72% of all television sets in the U.S. were tuned into I Love Lucy to watch her give birth. Well, not really watch her give birth. They didn't really do that by then, but to have the baby.
It was the storyline, yes.
And that was a big piece of the movie. I think you saw it too.
Being the Ricardos. Yes.
Yeah.
The
I
next
think
time
there's just
somebody wants to shoot down an idea that I firmly believe in, I am quoting that. Saying Lucy and Ricky thought it was a great idea, and the advertisers and the sponsors didn't. Even the executives didn't. And look at this. 72% of all television sets tuned in.
Well, what else was amazing was all the other stats they were giving for regular shows. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, they were like a $60 million show, and if you
Or
had a
how
20 million,
electricity use is lowered or whatever, during those time.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was also on this date in 1978 that the last Volkswagen Beetle made in Germany left VW's plant in Emden. Beetle production, of course, in Latin America continued until 2003.
Yeah, which is funny because that's when I bought my new Beetle. I wish I had the money. I was thinking it'd be cool if I had a new old Beetle and a new Beetle. Anyway, that same date in 1983, speaking of Apple, the Apple Lisa. Wait, not speaking of Apple. Never mind. Well, speaking of Apple, the Apple Lisa, the first commercial personal computer from Apple Inc. to have a graphical user interface and a computer mouse, it was announced.
January 19th, 1986, the first IBM PC computer virus was released into the wild.
Yeah.
It was a boot sector virus dubbed Brain.
Copyright Brian.
Copyright. Brian, we're going to go after that guy. It was created by Farooq Alvi brothers in Lahore, Pakistan. Reportedly, they built it to deter unauthorized copying of the software they had written. Nice job, boys.
Farouk translates into Brian. And that same date in 1999, Prince sang and partied like it was.
No.
In 1999, British Aerospace agreed to acquire the defense subsidiary of the General Electric Company, PLC, forming BAE Systems in November of 1999, which I just said it was 1999.
Wow, I thought BAE was around a lot longer than that, but okay. Happy birthday goes out of the state to Scottish English chemist and engineer James Watt, born on this date in 1736.
Edgar Allan Poe, American story writer, poet, critic, was born on the same date in 1809.
He had a love interest that was born on the same date 6 years earlier. I thought that was interesting. Hey, my girlfriend and I were born on the same date, sort of.
Yeah.
It would have been easy to remember your wife's birthday.
That's right.
Born January 19th, 1813, English engineer and businessman Henry Bessemer. Oh, Mr. Steelman. Yeah.
And French painter Paul Cézanne was born 100. I was close. Born 183 years ago today.
Craig goes to museums all the time.
Yeah.
And art galleries. Born January 19th, 1851, Dutch astronomer and academic Jacobus Keptin.
And Jean Stapleton, wife of Archie Bunker, the
American
actress and singer, was born 99 years ago today.
Wow, she was almost the same age as Betty White. American priest, astronomer, and theologian George Coyne was born 89 years ago today.
And John Lyons, Australian computer scientist and academic, was born on that same date in 1937.
Janice Joplin, the American singer-songwriter, was born 79 years ago today.
An American singer, songwriter, and actress, philanthropist, and the list goes on. Dolly Parton was born on this date in 1946.
Robert Palmer was born 73 years ago today.
And American actor, singer, Desi Arnaz is 69 today.
No, Desi Arnaz Jr.
Excuse me.
Born on TV in 1953. This better be his.
We were just talking about him being born. 69.
68 years ago today. Katie Seagal. Yes, Leela from Futurama and Peg from
Married with Children.
Married with Children. Thank you. Last one. Wrap it up. Music's
and last but not least, also born on the same date in 1959, American computer scientist and programmer Dennis Cooper.
All right, there we go. We're going to get these birthdays in after the music, just because timing. Bump. And while Craig goes and finds the banner, the proper ticker, whatever, for the birthdays, I'm going to read you our listener birthdays for this week. January 21st, Michael Rabelais. 22nd, TAW02294. Why aren't you at your post? Kathy Luke from Illinois is on the 23rd, along with Chris Moody from Podio Media Chat and Keith Lane from TG Geeks. We have 3 birthdays on the 23rd. Happy birthday, Keith. And Cynthia Fry on the 24th, and some guy named Craig Stepp on the 25th.
Jerk.
If you see any of these people, slap them upside the head, will you?
Yeah. Wait a minute. You jumped ahead in the birthday calendar, didn't you?
No, the show is from the 19th through the 25th. That's next week.
Oh, yes, right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Tell me how to
Well,
do my
great. Well,
job.
thank you
I've
for
screwed it
mentioning
up
my
enough.
birthday. I appreciate that.
That's the way it was on this day in history for January 19th, 2021. I've screwed this job up so many times, I know where the pitfalls are and how to avoid them.
How
So,
to jump into them, I think.
did you get that link on the screen? Because if I didn't say it yet, but if you wanna get your name on the birthday calendar, you
You had
go
it up.
to truckchat.com/birthday. We'll give you a shout out at the appropriate time of year. People have also
Yes.
put their spouses, their children, their, old devices
Anniversaries?
that have died, anniversaries. Yes, it's a wonderful place to go. Let's do some news.
Good news, everyone!
Well, it's interesting news. I don't know if you call it good news, but,
Yes.
scientists were
Certainly interesting.
exploring the Weddell Sea way, way down south by by Antarctica, south of everything except Antarctica,
Yeah.
and, they were looking for, uh they were just kinda doing some temperature readings 'cause there's this upwelling of warm water, and when I say warm, I mean relatively warm compared to the other water around there. It's like, about
It's a degree warmer.
than freezing. Yeah, pretty
Right.
much. It was like 2 degrees C, and that was rich in, I believe that it was zooplankton. And they went, "Oh, this is interesting." And while they were doing that, they were also mapping and taking pictures of the bottom of the ocean floor, and they came across these nests, ice fish. See if I can pronounce this. They said the nests were modest bowls carved in the mud on the seafloor by the notothenoid ice fish.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is, and they had tons of these. They said several orders of magnitude more than they had expected, which I'm picturing this thing covering just this ginormous area, but they said it had this distinct border on it. When it stopped, kinda like when you see a pack of penguins all huddled together.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see 3 or 4 that are kinda hanging outside this perimeter or they'll freeze. Well, these fish nests were the same way because that's where the warm water upwelling is. If there weren't no warm water, there weren't no fish. So
Yeah.
it was really kinda interesting, the article that went in here, and they said, "We really didn't know these things were down there." They're weird looking fish. They have a really long, um, kind of a narrow head, almost an arrow-shaped head, and then a long tail and, almost,
Reminds me of a gar a
the
little bit.
fins, yeah, kinda, the fins look almost more like a ray or a skate that,
Mhm.
kinda fan out from the middle. They're
I'm
set
sorry.
back. It
Not
very
a
bizarre
gar.
looking fish.
Yeah, I said gar, but not a gar, but it has a long nose to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, very curious. Nice to know that our oceans aren't completely devoid of life.
Are they tasty? There's 60 million of
Uh,
them down there.
Everything is really slow in the cold water and deep.
Yeah.
They didn't say how deep this was, or maybe I missed it. But, yeah, cool stuff. Nursery of and it was a nursery, not to boot. That's what the depressions in the mud were, is
Right.
and then about every 10 inches, they'd have another circle with a fish in it, one parent guarding, what was it, like 6,800 eggs per nest? It was just ludicrous, which makes me wonder if there's that many fish and there's that many eggs, something is eating these eggs. Now, they did say when the fish hatch, they kinda ride this upwell of warm water and eat the plankton, and then
Mhm.
they come back down when they're mature and build another nest.
Yeah.
So, realty must be
Cycle of life.
well, the property values must be tough if there's already a gazillion nests on there every 10 inches apart. Say,
Or you
"Hey,
try and
what
sell
am I
some
supposed to
property
do?"
that's in almost frozen water. Ain't
It's
gonna
really
happen.
it's actually really cheap.
Well, it's kind of
Nobody wants the warm they want the
it's kind
warm
of
water, not the cold
it's a
water.
seller's market, I guess. But
Ba-doom-tsh.
all right, so let's talk about the astrophysicists released the biggest map of the universe yet. And you know what's
It's
funny,
the scale on the side says 1 inch equals 1 inch.
right? It's
Sorry,
right.
that's an old
You're only
Stephen
this
Wright
far away
joke.
from the sun.
People
No,
they
so
said I bought a map of my town and it said 1 inch equals 1 inch. People say, "Where do
right.
you live?" I say, "H6."
Yeah, right. Now, here's the funny thing: is there's a tie-in to a thread that's been going on in our show already tonight. So anyway, I'm gonna start off with the article. It says that after just 7 months, a huge team of scientists who work with dark energy spectrographic image instrument have already mapped a larger swath of the cosmos than all other 3D surveys combined. And since they're only 10% of the way through their 5-year mission, they're exploring the universe. There's much more to come. Desi, pronounced like Desi Arnaz's name,
Wow, that's 3 times.
that's 3 times. So, has revealed a spectacular cosmic web of more than 7.5 million galaxies, and it will scan up to 40 million. Um, the instrument is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy and installed at the Nicholas U. Mayall 4-meter telescope at Kitt Peak National Observatory near Tucson, Arizona. So you can
Mhm.
just pop over there and check it out.
"Hey, I wanna see your map." The,
So,
and that's, like, from a ground-based one. Imagine what they're gonna get when they get James Webb online. It's on its way. It's on its way.
yeah, how long is when is that supposed to go live?
I think they were supposed to be getting images, what was it, 6 months after launch? So it'll
6
be
months?
well, it's gotta get out to one of the Lagrange points, L2? I can't remember the details.
Mhm.
And then they've gotta get the instrumentation online. It's a you gotta test everything before you put it in production.
Yeah. Well, the graphical map looks really cool. It's a three-dimensional really CT scan of the universe is what they say. The universe is in the lower left. I don't know if you got an image of that up on the screen or to show, um, but you can see kind of it goes out in a cone pattern going out, and it talks about distance and stuff. So anyway, that's pretty cool. It's amazing that they're able to map the universe like that, and you know,
Timeline of the James Webb Space Telescope. It launched Christmas Day, 2021. Yes, we all know
mhm,
that. Oh my.
it's
Here's
in
the
orbit now.
complete history. Um, it just has up to liftoff. After launch plans. For 29 days after launch, James Webb Space Telescope takes a 1.51 million kilometer trip towards L2 halo orbit. For 6 months, JWST prepares for full-time space operation. This includes letting everything cool down, calibrating the mirrors and instruments, etc. 5-year science mission starts after 6 months.
Hmm.
10 years
Okay.
of operational goal and enough fuel to maintain the halo orbit for at least 10 years is included. There you go.
Cool.
Wait, I thought the whole point was of L2 was that you didn't need fuel. It just kinda rode along with the gravity and
That's probably why they got enough fuel in there for 10 years. That's once
we
they
didn't
get
bring
there.
any.
No, once they get there, just kind of ride the wave.
Alrighty.
Anyway, I love how these people are figuring out how to map the universe. It's like I wouldn't I would have not even I would have had no idea of where to start except for like with one dot, two dot, and kind of
There's one. There's one.
yeah.
There's well, and you've gotta map this thing in 3D too. You can't just, have the, um, you know, the sphere above your head.
It's a sphere all around you.
Right, but
It's ev-
there's different
yeah,
things at different distances. So,
right.
let's do another story. I'm sure
All
many
right.
of you have already heard about the man who received a pig heart implant.
Of course.
Yeah, the replacement pig heart, and the big problem with I mean, this has been a goal for decades that doctors wanted to use animal parts, pigs being very close, organs to humans. They wanna use those for, organ replacements rather than relying on a donor list, or potentially change the donor list from opt-in to opt-out.
Hmm.
But, there's all kinds of ethical questions going on here, the animal rights people well, as of January 10th, as was made popular on the news, this man he's 57 years old, although he looks a lot older in his
Doesn't
post-op
he?
picture.
Yeah.
He looks like he's about 87, uh,
Yeah.
but you look at pictures just taken a few months ago before he was going along just fine until this past October when he was having chest pains. And I don't know what the exact diagnosis was, but they said, "You need a new heart really fast." And he was put on the donor list, but he wasn't taking his medications per the doctor's orders. He wasn't really following instructions that well, and they said, "People like that don't make good heart donor patients anyway, because you gotta take a lot
Candidates,
of
yeah.
anti-rejection drugs. Even if it's a family member, you still gotta take a lot of anti-rejection drugs." And they said, "Well, how'd you like to be the first pig heart recipient? We've been doing some testing, and it went pretty well. This guy back in
Well,
September, we
well,
learned a
I
lot of
like I
lessons
like
from."
I like pulled pork barbecue. Why not?
He said, "It wasn't my first choice, but the the fact that if he didn't have the heart transplant, he never woulda left the hospital, or he probably woulda left it in a box." But, he said, "Well, if that's the choice, I'll give it a try. God's watching over me." And, he did. This article is full of statistics. More than 100,000 people sit on organ transplant wait lists, suffering terrible symptoms and side effects, and about 6,000 of them die every year, waiting in vain for someone else's tragedy to provide them with a kidney or heart lung. Now, the I mentioned the animal rights activists. They're saying, "Hey, that's not right that you can, you're raising pigs." That they had to
Yeah.
genetically engineer some proteins in the pig's tissue. You can't just take any old pig heart, or we would have done that decades ago. That's how we found out that, hey, this rejection thing isn't working out. But after 3 days, he was still doing all right. Now, it is kind of touch and go as we go, and the initial rejection is different than the rejection that you're gonna get in a few weeks or a few months. But he's out of the most dangerous part of this, and last I heard, he was still hanging in there.
Wasn't the reason this is a genetically altered pig so that there was not rejection?
Well, it
That was the point, wasn't it?
greatly decreases it. We're not gonna say
Yeah.
there's no rejection,
Well,
but
if he's not taking his medication, it's that's kind of people that bugs me a little bit because you're asking for a to be put on a list for a replacement organ,
yep.
which you probably could have prevented some of this by doing what you were asked to do
My
or
first
needed
thing is,
to.
why don't we give him an artificial heart? And they said he was ineligible for an artificial heart pump because of an uncontrollable arrhythmia. So, he really only had one choice, but even he said, "Even if I only survive for a limited time, they're still gonna learn a lot, and I'll leave a legacy based on my lesson. Because if nobody says, 'Hey, I want a pig
Yeah,
heart,' we're
I
not
want
gonna
my
learn directly."
legacy to be, oh, I didn't do what I was asked to do with my health.
Yep.
Oh
So
boy.
it's it's a
Well,
step in a new direction.
it
I
is a
mean,
step
imagine.
forward, and I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's
Hey,
a good
Craig,
thing.
in about 30 years, you and I are probably gonna be good. Who knows? Maybe in 6 months, we may need a kidney and go, "Give me one of those pig kidneys." You know,
Yeah.
sure, we won't be walking up to the butcher counter and doing that,
Guess
but,
what, Chuck? Good luck. It's good luck that you're actually a match. So I need a kidney.
well, if we're cutting back on eating meat, that means there's gonna be a surplus of pigs, right?
No, there'd be a surplus of pig hearts.
That's if you
Wait,
ate the
wait a
pigs.
minute. We're cutting
We're
back
using
on meat.
we're using every part of the animal. Yes, cutting back on meat because of, like, bovine methane,
Wait,
and
you guys are?
absolutely.
Okay. No, I'm asking. I'm trying to figure out what you're
We're
talking
we're
about.
not 100% vegan, vegetarian right now, but we are migrating in that direction. You know what? I feel pretty darn good about it.
Oh no, do. I mean that's fine. No, there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I was trying to figure out what you meant, like society as a whole or yourself. That's what I was trying to figure out. Because
Oh,
I've
I
certainly had to cut
society
back
as a
on.
whole, definitely.
Yeah,
I just saw a commercial for, KFC. They've got plant-based chicken nuggets. Saw another
yeah.
ad
Have you
for,
tried them?
haven't tried those specifically.
I'm curious. I'm
There's,
curious to try them, but I don't have high hopes. Let's put it that way.
I've seen several ads for plant-based meat products.
Um, uh, Burger King does the Impossible Whopper.
Yep.
Have you tried one of those?
No.
Then you're not doing your
But we
part.
just had, was it I can't remember if it was Impossible or Beyond, one of the 2. We had tacos
Mhm.
tonight that are made out of that meat. It's like the stuff that makes the tacos really the seasoning. You're probably gonna have chopped up carrots for all I care.
Yeah. Well, they were.
Yeah, it's
And
taco seasoning that makes the tacos for me.
yeah, right. Oh
That and a
yeah.
little
Well,
salsa.
I've made things when I did keto for about 3 years, and there were some things I'm like, it just doesn't taste right. But once you just season it right, it's as
Yep.
good as anything else. But but I was doing my part with meat though. I was on the keto diet.
Yeah, that's not really moving the needle in the right direction, Craig.
No, but things like, for example, some of the breads that I would make. At first time I made it, I was like, okay, I'm not kidding anybody by saying this is bread. But after a while, I got to where I can season it just right. It's perfectly serviceable. Anyway,
Let's give a shout out to the chat room. We have
oh,
several people in
by the
here.
way, John Miller Jr.
Yes.
says Impossible Whopper is fantastic.
I haven't had a whole lot of fast food in a long, long time.
Oh, I haven't gone to fast food in a long time either, but I'd be willing to try it.
Just
She
for
says she likes
comparison.
them too.
Oh, good. Good.
Hey, I'm not.
So we
I'm not. By
maybe
the way, I'm not knocking anybody for at all for being vegan or cutting back. I'm just cutting up with Chuck a little bit, but at the same time, no, I think it's fine. I'm not ready to cut back too much. I
when
do
you
support
find
a
out
local
how
farmer though.
it's what did I hear? Methane is like 10 times worse than CO2 in the atmosphere as
Hmm.
far as a greenhouse gas. And not only that, but the biodiversity, we're dedicating a lot of resources to uh, land for farm animals.
Hmm.
And just the amount of stuff you have to grow to get that animal to market so that we can have a burger on our table. Like it's just this the economics of that are totally
Yeah, I
upside
understand.
down.
No, I understand
So
that, and I do.
I'm like,
And by the way, whatever it's worth, I understand that there's still cows and they're still producing methane, but I do support a local farmer here for all my meats. So I help feed their family, by doing my part. So there's something to be
the
said for that as well.
there is. You know, everybody's gotta make a living at something, but it's almost like recycling. At first, when we started recycling, it's like, "Oh, I don't wanna separate the glass from the paper from the blah,
Oh,
blah, blah." Yeah, and it took a
yeah,
long time to change that culture to
sure.
where, you feel guilty throwing something away now. Like, "Man, how is this going in the landfill? There's gotta be a better way to
Yeah,
do that."
and you know what? Okay, let's talk about that for just 1 second, because my town has made some changes to the uh, uh, recycling project, policy,
Program
whatever you want to call it.
program.
Program. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Program. They actually were going to do away with it to begin with, but I have a large can that I throw all the recycle stuff in there. It's very easy for us. They were going to get away with that, and then there was a lot of blowback to bring it to not do that. Fine, okay, but you have to throw away glass in your trash. They don't recycle glass anymore. The reason is
Wow.
the reason is because people do put cigarette butts and all that kind of crap in there. So then when you try to break it down, you always have all this other crap in there. I think it's hard for them to actually break it down and to something usable, which
That
all right,
sounds like public
I don't know.
education, though. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't know what to tell you.
Y
I have a beer. I have to put the bottle in the trash can. I can't put it in the
I
recyclables.
know, but you're not the one putting cigarette butts in there. Like,
No, you're right.
you say
No.
when you recycle this stuff, it's gotta be clean. Now, if you're the idiot putting cigarette butts in there, then you throw it
Yeah,
away, but don't ruin the program for the rest of the
yeah,
people.
I understand.
'Cause
Well,
otherwise you could say, "Oh, we're not taking paper because people they don't take their staples out."
but
Like,
see, okay, aside from yeah, right.
there's
Well,
always a
aside
reason
from
to say no to the good things.
I was kind of surprised because when I first thought about it, I figured that glass, not thinking about stuff being in the bottle, just glass in general, I thought it'd be the easiest thing to crush and break down and reuse somehow. But apparently, yeah. So I don't know why they did that. So
Last I
they've
heard,
made it kind of weird.
the
Mhm.
economics of aluminum, it was cheaper to get the recycled aluminum than to go manufacture new aluminum.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. That was a big win. Cans and stuff, and I remember finding those when I was a kid. Oh, here you go. John Miller Jr. says he'll switch out meat free from time to time. for a few of his former colleagues from a company I used to work with to me on to meat-free alternatives. Yeah, there's plenty of them. Yeah, and they have gotten better, and there's going to be more because of Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, and see, check. I thought how many of you raise your hands think that KFC was never going to come out with a you never thought they would come out with a meat-free option, right? I mean, it's chicken, but
Yep.
I'm curious to try it. I'll try it. Yeah.
So we were about to start the chat room. Mike,
Who?
John, and
Oh,
Amy are in the chat room.
okay.
And if you want to join us in the chat room, banner time,
Yeah,
banner time.
I know. I'm
Join
getting
us
there.
Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern on Facebook and YouTube. You can go to Facebook or YouTube and look up Technorama Podcast.
Wait, birthday contact us. What?
Chat room, contact us. No,
Oh, contact us. Those are out of order.
no, it's not contact us. It's the chat room. I thought we had a banner for the chat room. Didn't we
No,
have
we
a?
don't.
You're under brand again. Like,
There isn't one. Support the show. Birthday calendar live. There's this.
there's that. That's contact us. We're getting there. All
I don't
right.
see one for
All right, then we don't
shout out to
have
the chat.
one. Well, maybe we
Yeah,
should make one. Okay.
I'll do one
Maybe
right
that's
now.
just the part where we tell them.
Yeah, just tell them. That's it.
9:30 Eastern, Sunday nights, Facebook and YouTube. Let's move on.
Wait, we didn't shout out to the chat room.
Yes, we did. You were hunting around for the things.
Okay.
60 years ago, NASA scientists found out that women would actually be better astronauts, and the science of that was never published. This is the, looks like somebody caught on to this is from Real Clear Science. When did they publish this? Because this sounds like they just watched Netflix.
January 8th.
January 8th, 2022. And Netflix has a program called Mercury 13 that I encourage you to watch that has all the facts in here. But the short answer is in the late 50s, this guy named Dr. W. Randolph Lovelace II and Brigadier General Don D. Flickinger, I barely knew her. Maybe it's Flickinger.
Flickinger, there you go.
The chair and vice chair of NASA's Special Committee on Life Sciences. Well, they said, hey, let's do this study because, we've got a lot of women candidates out there. And they actually said, when it comes to stress of isolation in space, et cetera, the women are actually showing better results. But for PR reasons, they thought, well, maybe we better not. And they picked a bunch of homogenous white men to do all this stuff.
It's called job security. That's what that's what they leaned on.
Here's a quote from it says, first, there would be a reduction in the propulsion fuel required to send the rocket's load into space, as women were lighter and would require less oxygen than men.
Yeah, they have hollow bones. They have hollow bones like birds.
No, they don't. If they were birds, they could fly to space. Second, women were known to have fewer heart attacks than men. Third, the internal reproductive system of the female was thought to be less susceptible to radiation than that of the male. I don't know if I buy that one, but we'll see.
Okay.
Finally, there were preliminary data available suggesting that women could outperform men in enduring cramped spaces and withstanding prolonged isolation. And they talked to one of these ladies on the Netflix special that said, when they put us in the isolation chamber, they wanted to see, how long you could handle this total, no noise, no stress. The water was holding you in kind of neutral gravity. And the men would last like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. This one lady was in there for like 9 hours. She goes, this is better than being at the spa.
I was thinking, I can hear my wife now. Nobody's asking me for anything. I'll just sit here and enjoy it.
The kids. But unfortunately, their idea was smooshed when President Dwight Eisenhower deemed that astronaut candidates should be recruited only from the ranks of military fighter jet test pilots. And at the time, women were barred from that role. So it was a biased candidate program. Later, I think it was the 60s, women were allowed to be test pilots. And what's even stranger is women were flying fighter jets. They were flying them from the factory to the Air Force bases where they were deployed.
Oh, yeah.
It's
the
like they had
manufacturing.
a
Yeah.
job. They were flying, and they were flying everybody. They just weren't in those test fighters, and they weren't in combat situations as many of these other guys were. So
Look,
it's really
I've
a
seen
sad
I've
ancient
seen.
history.
I'm sure you can say the same thing, Chuck. I've seen my wife and my mom do extraordinary things with little to no resources. I would have no reservations sending a woman into space.
Imagine Apollo 13. They would have fixed it themselves. They wouldn't have needed the group on the ground to duct
Hold
tape
on,
this
give us 10
box.
minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, no, I got it done.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
guys
not a
just
problem
aren't
anymore.
thinking outside the box. We made the box. All
Yeah.
right. So it's an interesting story. The one of the candidates was actually Wally Funk, the woman who
Yes.
went up in Bezos's ship.
Hmm.
The white-haired woman that I think she's now the oldest, or did
Yeah.
Shatner break that record? I forgot if
Uh,
who. She's the oldest female in space.
that's right.
That's for
Which I
certain.
thought I did think that was great that she was able to go up there and experience space for, even though it was a limited time, to be able to do that. I think that was fantastic.
Yep. All right, let's give a thanks to our patrons. We are moving along in this show. So
All right.
thank you very much to our patrons. This show is brought to you by you. That's right. You're the people who contribute to the show with as little as $1 per episode to keep the bills paid, the lights on, the bandwidth going. Thank you very much, Alexis Duran, Amber Elstad, Amy Bowen, Avner Braverman, Ben Vaughn, Brian Brown. It's an alliteration thing going on here in a sec. Chris
Right.
MC, Dan D. Mancoyer, Dean Jensen, Denise Inglis, Gary Lindros. Thank you, John Clifford, John Noble, and Jorgen Schrauen. We get onto the KL&M section. Kyle Nishioka, Leon, Mark Kilfoyle, Mike Wills, Chris Martinez. That didn't start with a K. Saturday Morning Media, and then the honor roll of Steve's. Stephen Weshy, Steve Therian, Steve Cody, and Steve London. Thank you very much, Craig. We need a banner for the video
Oh,
participants.
yep.
And
Sorry.
for as little as $1 a show, you not only get your name enshrined on the show, but you also get an episode, which we record right after we record this one, but it comes out the very next day. Craig and I have these deep philosophical discussions. It's a side of us you have never heard before. And if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. Well,
You know what?
sometimes it's
I think
inane.
I think even the president wants to hear what we have to talk about. It's so deep.
There's a special congressional subcommittee that's scratching up some funding for us as we speak.
We've solved so many world problems. You know, world leaders are trying to get in, but they can't unless they give us a couple bucks.
That's right. Special RSSB just for you. Thank you very much to everyone who contributes. And we have some plans coming up in 2022. Craig and I just had a special subcommittee of our own before the camera was rolling.
Sub meeting.
What are you talking about? What are you laughing about? All right, let's get the
You weren't in the meeting.
Imperial.
Well, I mean, you were, but they weren't. Never mind.
We don't know who had the action items, but something happened.
Oh, I think
Okay.
we know who got the action items.
It's like at work. Hey, I have an idea. They say, great, run with it.
or I'm sorry, I'm late to the meeting. Well, you got all the action items.
Fail fast. All right,
Right.
we have some shows / movies to talk about in our Pass Me the Remote segment. Craig, why don't you go first?
All right, so I'm going to shock you. All right, I'm going to shock you, Chuck. I watched this movie and I did not enjoy it.
The Eternals?
It was
Really?
the
I heard good
Eternals.
things about that.
Maybe I didn't. I plan on rewatching it.
Okay.
But it just didn't capture me. I enjoyed. Now, let's be clear. Marvel is like the Pixar of movies. What the even the worst Marvel film is not a terrible film. You know, they're all pretty good. This one just didn't capture me. There was maybe it was just I'm not familiar with the characters from the the comic legacy. So a lot of the characters I was trying to learn, I was trying to follow along. There were a lot of flashbacks, and I was like, even though they would say the date or when the flashback was happening, I don't know, it just kind of lost me. So
Okay.
the movie didn't really speak to me, but I did see a lot of the connections that they were trying to make with other films. So I'm gonna try watching it again, see if it resonates a little bit better. But it just didn't do it for me. And it's not a terrible. It's just didn't work for me.
Didn't resonate. That's how I feel about a few shows too. But then you came along later and said, "No, you really got to watch it again." Or
Yeah,
T. Morris will say, "Hey, keep going till you get to this point," and you know,
push through.
sometimes you got to push through. But
And Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going.
going through hell, stop at the gift shop on your way out.
That's right.
That's my motto.
Right.
All right, I'll take one, and then we'll come back to yours
Sure.
for the
That's
third one.
fine.
How's that sound?
Yeah.
So, Netflix has a series called Roman Empire,
Hmm.
and I have watched the first 2 seasons. I had to remind myself because it came up and said, "Hey, new episodes." I went, "Really? This sounds intriguing. I'd love to watch it." And sometimes on Netflix, you start with the latest season, and
Right.
you like even if you're watching it for the first time, they don't start out with season 1, episode 1. They start out with season latest episode 1, go, "What? Why are we watching
Oh,
this
yeah.
backwards?" It like, who thought that was ever a good idea? Well,
Hmm.
they started me on season 3, episode 1 because I had already watched. I even went into the episodes list going, and it's all red lines going, "Oh, yeah, I do remember this now." Uh, they talk about the history, and they've got some reenactments and some characters and some CG that really makes this come to life. They talked about Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar, and um, season 3 starts. It's centered around Caligula. Now, he was not the heir of one of the existing emperors. Tiberius was on the throne. Yes,
Kirk.
Tiberius, as in James Tiberius Kirk. Yes,
Yeah.
James T. Kirk was a Roman emperor. Well, the only predecessor to Tiberius was Augustus, and everybody loved Augustus because he united everybody in the co in the, Italian states and the Roman states and expanded the empire. Tiberius comes along, he was kind of a do nothing. Like, he didn't wanna rock the boat, and then to make things worse, he goes into self-exile on the island of Capri, which is south
Hmm.
of Italy and off the coast, not as far as
Yep.
Sicily, and, like, he was trying to run the empire by proxy, didn't work. He had a grandson who was too young. Just very fascinating story. Well, Caligula was actually the son of, a very famous general, or very popular general named Germanicus. Germanicus is the emperor we never got because he was mysteriously killed. Some say he was poisoned, and Caligula was maybe about 10 at this time, and then his mom starts spouting off about this is a conspiracy, he was poisoned, blah, 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 and they came after his family. They didn't get him,
Right.
and then he's in his late teens, and Tiberius says, "Send for Caligula." And he's brought to Capri for years, like 6 years. It's just this great story about how did he become emperor if he wasn't in line to become emperor, and if he was and his dad was killed, it's like, I didn't know all this stuff.
Hmm.
Now, the turning point is when he was supposedly poisoned but survived and became very paranoid. That's when the decline went. His first 7 or so months, great time, man, everybody loved Caligula,
Yeah.
but, yeah, his name is not remembered in the fondest of terms, kinda like Richard Nixon.
Oh,
When people
yeah.
think of Nixon, they don't think of the great things he did.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
anyway, I am really enjoying this. I happen to love historical docuseries, anything that brings the past to life, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
Got
Is this a
some
documentary or is it just like a drama kind of thing based on facts?
it is a documentary. Well, it's
Okay.
based on the facts that we know. We have a lot of
Okay.
the records from that time. It's not, it's not a made up artificial reality.
Okay.
It is as close to the facts as we get them.
Hmm. All right.
So, what else have you seen?
Well, speaking of artificial reality, I did
Oh
watch
boy.
the Jeff Epstein um, Filthy Rich on Netflix is a documentary.
Yeah, I saw that come up on my playlist. I'm
I
not brave enough to dig into
Oh,
that.
I thought you I was gonna ask you, was that one that you watched before? I couldn't remember without
Haven't
going back
watched
to our
that
show
one,
notes.
no.
Okay. So, it's a was it 4 episodes? And it talks about him, where his money came from, and a lot of backstory about him. And then, of course, you bring in the people that uh, were wronged by him, and you start learning their stories and what happened, and then, of course, all the way to the downfall, where, spoiler alert, he died. He killed himself. But it was
Did he really kill himself?
yeah. Well, you know what? After watching this, I wonder because there was a point when he got basically he f- he admitted guilt in court, and then they sentenced him to like 18 months in jail, which
Yeah,
is in this ridiculous area. I mean, he was getting special treatment, and then the government gave him basically immunity for other things and the people around him, which was way unusual. Why would they do that?
because
Because
he's
there was
rich?
and I think it was the people that he was involved with that were in his orbit. So, um, of course, the government turned that over and said, no, no, even the accusers are should be allowed to have their day in court, and it was the law. It is law. So that all that was thrown out. The victims should be able to be heard. It was like I forget the name of the act. It was like CV something. It's an older act that where accusers can have their day in court, their say about the outcome, which was super light. Anyway, so that turned around. It looked like he was about to. His life was pretty much over because he's sitting in jail, and that's when he killed himself. Now I started thinking because now, as in today, they're about to release the people that were not named that should be named. Some of the people that were involved with him, and could it be a politician? I don't know. It's well to say, but that's about to happen because Ghislaine, whatever
Maxwell, yeah.
Maxwell, is not giving them immunity anymore from her side. So anyway, so my thought was, yeah, okay, he killed himself, but did one of those not accusers, one of those people that were also implicated, maybe thought, well, they could kind of shut this all down. If they kill him, then they won't have a court case. So
Who's making money off of this? I mean, obviously Netflix is making some money, but somebody in the Epstein sphere had to give rights to the story.
is the
I just
state? I
this
don't
this
know.
feels like it's supporting the wrong thing. It's like we're glorifying the guilty at this point. That's why I don't wanna
No,
watch
you
it.
need
I don't
no.
wanna
If you watch
support
it, you're not. They're not glorifying the guilty. They are not. As a matter of fact, they're shining a light on it. I think so.
it. Okay.
So that's what. Aside from who's making money from Netflix, I don't know. But as far as uh him dying, whether he was intentional or for himself or somebody
Mhm.
else did it, I think it throws enough doubt in. I don't know. And they had a doctor talking about some of the injuries that he had from the hanging, and wasn't consistent with an injury from hanging. Um, so
Uh-huh.
then it's still who knows? I don't know. I don't know if we'll know the whole story, but they gave the victims a lot of light, and they explained a lot of what happened. So I thought it was a fascinating story, and to see the
Alright.
island that they were on. See, here's the as far as somebody having some interest in getting him out of the way, is the people that were not going to be shown in court. You know,
Mhm.
could it be Bill Clinton? I don't know. Could it be Kevin Spacey? I don't know. He was there
Well, we know
too.
Prince Andrew was just stripped of some
Prince Andrew, yes,
titles
and
and
he
credit.
was in there too. They
Yeah.
were talking about that. So it goes deep. It goes deep, and that's why he got that immunity. Uh,
Nobody's above the law.
you'd like to think that, but I don't know.
Alright, let's move on, and we'll finish up with Geek Library because this show is running long
Oh,
over the
okay.
night. geek library here. Thanks for sharing. For you Star Wars fans out there, we do have something fun for you in the Geek Library. It is the Star Wars Cantina on guitars, 2 acoustical guitars. We're not gonna play it because it is on YouTube, and they licensed it and credited it and everything, but it is a lot of fun. Short
They
little
do a good
ditty.
job with it. I thought it was
Yep.
it was a nice listen. It was a good
It
listen.
it as I listened to it, something was trying to come to mind that I just couldn't put my finger on. It was it wasn't like a flamenco thing where you think, "Oh, this belongs in a Mexican restaurant," but it was something like that. It's like, this is bringing my mind somewhere, but I couldn't nail it down. Obviously, you could hear the the cantina music in the guitars, but the way it was presented just felt like the style of something else, and somebody can help me out and identify what that was. We also have another article in here about a, developer who 5 years ago wrote a Wordle app. If you haven't heard of Wordle, I didn't hear about it until about 3 days ago.
Mhm.
What did Donna say? It was like, one of those board games that it already exists. This game has been around for a long time, where you've got 5-letter words
Scrabble?
and you No, not Scrabble.
Oh,
That's
5-letter words, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, she said the name, and I went, "Oh, yeah, that's what it's like." I can't remember the name of the game, but, you're given a limited amount of guesses to guess what it is, and for every time you put down letters, they say, "Oh, this is the right letter, but in the wrong position," or "This is the right letter
Oh,
in the
right.
right position," or "This is completely bogus." Today's word, I did get in 3 guesses. I'm so proud of myself.
I
It's
have seen Wordle showing up on my Facebook feed, and I'm like the
Yes,
other day, I was like, "What the heck is going on now?"
it's kinda fun. It's kinda fun. I'm not normally one, that's big on these word games, but it's, if it's one of these games that like crosswords where if you play them, they can get under your skin and fight off dementia, is what I'm told.
Mhm.
But, the website has been around for a little while, but this guy came out with an app 5 years ago that did the same thing, and he's saying, "Well, some of the reviews on there were, 'Oh, you're just making money off of this.'" And there are some legit people that are trying to put out Wordle apps, and they can't do it because they're not this website that apparently owns the game. It's like you can't repurpose somebody else's IP. Well, he's saying, "I was first. You can't tell me to take it down." So what he's done is said, "Well, I'm just gonna do." He came out with this thing 5 years ago, and, the upload the downloads are going, blip, blip, blip on the radar, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, spike!
Yeah.
He's getting like
I
100,000 or
finally hit it 5
200,000
years later. Yeah.
100,000 or 200,000 downloads a day now. He said, "I'm going to donate the money to charity." So, that's a very noble cause of his.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, I mean, even if you got, like, 5 cents out of the app, 100,000 downloads at 5 cents is what, about $20,000?
Yeah.
No. No, I did that wrong. I went
No.
the wrong way.
5 cents
It's
or,
a 20th a 20th of 100,000, $5,000.
it's money.
It's money.
Anyway, because of his, the success of his app, unintended as it may be, he's, donating that money, which I thought was great.
Yep. Yep. Good on him for that.
So it was worth
But
a mention,
check
in
it
the
out
in our
over
show.
at GameSpot for that. Mike Robeson just wants to Hangman. Did you ever write a Hangman app?
Oh my gosh, yeah, on the Apple, as a matter of fact.
I just put that up there, dude.
Oh, sorry, I was on the
Pay
other screen.
pay attention.
Yeah, I did that on the Apple, back in school when there was an Apple IIe or yeah, Apple IIe in the classroom, and,
Hardest part about that was, how do you put text and graphics together?
yeah, I think I even drew the letters, which was kind of a pain.
I as soon as I found out
I mean, the person.
the
I mean, I'm sorry, I used
yeah.
characters to draw the person is what I meant to say.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and the stick man hangman looked pretty awful.
Yeah, like yeah. Yeah, I had
Oh,
a
man,
math teacher that
you got me really curious because now I wanna go look in my box of floppy disks over there and see if I can find it.
yeah, I had a
I
math teacher that was, very supportive of my computer habits, and she when I got finished my work, she'd say, "You can go over there and program." So I go over there and start hacking away on the computer. I loved it.
It's how you get good at it. You got to have a personal investment in something. All right, here we go. Here's our question of the week. If the internet existed 100 years ago in the 1920s, what kinds of questions would people be searching for, aka Google?
How to use a bread slicer.
No, the answer's so obvious. It was during Prohibition. It's how do you make bathtub gin?
How to ride a penny farthing.
You don't. They ride you.
Yeah.
Okay, we want to know that, dear listener. We're going to put this up on social media next weekend and see what you come back with. It's going to be creative. Speaking of 1920s, I have been working on my Roaring Twenties cosplay for the Star Trek cruise that's coming up. And it's amazing. When I started thinking about it, I actually owned a lot of these pieces already. So I went out and bought a new fedora, even though I have some other fedoras that
Mhm.
may have worked. They weren't what I wanted. I'm kind of a hat snob. Uh, I already had the shirt, already had a waistcoat, already had a bow tie. I just had to buy some arm garters, which were optional, but I thought they'd make it better. And I bought some spats. Never even knew how to put
Okay.
spats on. So I really bought like 3 things. Like, dang, this looks pretty darn good.
It's
So
funny.
who is Betty White? That's what they would have been Googling for.
Oh,
Few
let's see,
more years before she got her career going.
the last Google search in 1929 is the Great Depression real or not?
Yeah. No, that would have been 1929. They would have been getting that
That's
at
what
the
I said.
end of
The,
the
the
20s
last Google search in 29.
before Google went under.
Yeah. The first time. That's right.
All righty. So there you have it. We're going to get that question up for you this weekend. We've got a Patreon show to record, but until then, we're going to sign off. Thank you once again, Craig, for all the help in finding the stories and doing the show notes.
Thank you, Chuck. And I did my part ignoring the banners as I put them up.
We're working on it. It's a new
That's right.
job responsibility. And thank you, dear listener, a dear viewer, if you happen to be around live. Remember, Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern Time. We'd love to hear from you. Call us on the listener line, 707-530-2428. 707-530-CHAT is an easy way to remember that. Or Technorama at chuckchat.com. Email us. We are looking at ways, if you listen to Evo Terra, we're looking at ways to make reaching out and feedback loop even easier than ever before. So we'll let you know how that comes along. Maybe that's
I think the word you're looking for is mandatory.
Until next time, Craig, give me a binary high five.
All right. 101. Thank you. See ya. Bye.
And we are stopped audio recording.
Yeah,
One
feedback
final
is mandatory. There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
feedback is not an option.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Amy and John, and everybody, Mike, everybody who's joined us live, whether you're watching this immediately live or you are watching this afterwards on Facebook or YouTube. We appreciate it very much. And you can always catch the podcast, the audio podcast, on Wednesdays on your favorite podcatching client or directory of choice. Until next time, Craig and I are going to go record our Patreon show. We'll talk to you again real soon. Everybody stay safe. Stay safe, whether it is being careful of the weather, being careful of viruses, being careful of being attacked by a grue,
Stumping your toe.
slipping on the soap in the shower. We want to make sure that we're all here to hang out and have some fun next time we get together.
It's hard to do when you use body wash.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
I drop the bottle and slip on it.
See you next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.